We need to find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here. 444 Spirit Way. Oh, turn.
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time. The James and Kelly Show.
Great, let's start the show. Hello, Kelly.
Hi, James. I'm glad to see you sit here right now.
I know, me too. Let me tell you, it looks very cloudy. Maybe it's my glasses.
There you go.
You look very sharp.
Thank you. Well, I'm trying. How are you doing, honey?
I'm doing okay. You know, day by day, moment by moment.
I know you've had a really rough week.
It's been rough. It's been a rough year.
It has been a rough year.
I remodel my bathroom. It's been rough.
Oh my gosh. Well, that might have been the easiest part, right?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Lori. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Ann Margaret. Hi, Lori.
Joni,
Hi,
every time
Joni.
I look at your name, I always think of the cruise coming up. I mean, I just heard from the cruise person putting us in charge, doing our whole cruise. Ron, he said like 30 more openings. There are 30 left openings.
Fantastic.
The red zone, they said, which is they will not take any outside reservations, but just for our workshop. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, fantastic.
Relationship.
Great. Well, if you guys are thinking about coming to Alaska with us, please do. It's going to be a great trip.
And August is very popular. It's the most popular month of the year.
Yes.
So I just right before we went on, I got his email.
Oh, good. How great. I'm glad to hear that.
He's off to Amsterdam and somewhere else.
They have quite a life.
Quite a life.
Yeah.
Lori's your neighbor in Fargo, North Dakota. It was 24 inches of snow from the storm starting at 4 a.m.
Oh,
how's the weather been with you, Kelly?
It's been friggin' awful.
Tornadoes?
First of all, Friday, after I talked to you, literally, James, I spoke. I had the designer here at the house because we're going to start a remodel. I spoke to you, and 10 minutes later, Don and I were in our basement with the dogs. So there's a tornado. Yeah, we were a tornado like land here. It was unbelievable. And we have another situation like that tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah. And one dog is really scared of, the kind of weather that happens. And we have a jacket for him, but he just doesn't take this well. And the other one is a lot calmer, but it's scary, James, when you hear that thunder and lightning and the weather, it gets a little,
Actually, when I said Lori Alexander passed, I knew Lori, but
you did.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of that going on.
A lot going on. So we decided to change the show's theme tonight because my family situation. So I should go everybody. My sister Lynn is passing away as we speak. She's in hospice and she had stomach cancer, which was doing fine. But then what happened was she went to, I don't know if you know the whole story of this. She went 2 weeks ago to a hospital because she had headaches. Well, there were brain bleeds because the chemo thinned out blood vessels, which it does. And it went like, so that was fine. But then they discovered that the cancer spread to her spine.
Oh.
Sacral. And the chemo, there she is. There's Lynn.
Those eyes.
Her book, Divine Dimes. Yeah. So I was just back from New York last week saying goodbye to her, and weird things have happened. So I thought to Kelly, we should do a show based on the process of death, dying, and discuss it because so many things happened to me. I'm going to share with everybody that you can expect to that. But before we do that, Kelly, you want to talk about astrology a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about astrology, and then we'll get into death and dying.
Yeah, we go hand in hand from right here. Yeah.
I can follow you anywhere. Here we go. So let's talk about the month of April, because the month of April is full of transition. It's full of transformation. It's full of changes, and it's a complicated month. So I'm going to start with that. There's so many highlights that I'm going to cover, but I'm just going to highlight them, and we'll, as each week progresses, we'll get into more. But here's just some of the highlights here. Let's start with this one. On Thursday, on April 6th, so today's April 3rd of 2023, on Thursday, we have a full moon in Vedic astrology. It is in Virgo. And this happens to be in the celestial house, or the nakshatra. It's called Hasta. And Hasta means selfless service. And this is a special karma yoga. So this full moon is all about the practice of selfless action, and it's to help and benefit others. So this is a really good time to take time for this full moon for circumspection, hard work, dutiful action. And you can harness this special energy to heal yourself and to heal others, because Virgo is the sign of service. It's the sign of healing. It's just an excellent time to bring health benefits to you and to others. And it's of giving. It means to be of service, selfless service. So this full moon is very important for many aspects. Make sure you put your crystals out, because I know people are going to ask. Put your crystals out for clearing. Great moon to make moon water, have we talked about, because it's for your own healing. It would be great for that. So this Thursday's got a lot of aspects to it, but this full moon also ushers in what we call eclipse season, because we have an eclipse coming up this month, and I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But so this full moon is very, very powerful. At the same time, on this April 6th, we've got this full moon. Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, transits into Taurus, okay, on April 6th. And this actually is an amazing time for relationships, because it will, if you're not in a relationship, it could bring you a relationship. It also is about finding love for yourself, self-love, and loving others. So you can see the energy is really about taking care of yourself, finding love, and putting love out in the world with on this particular day. And again, eclipse season begins. The one aspect of again, this Thursday, April 6th, that makes it a little rough, one aspect, and that's Mercury, the planet of communication, comes together, conjuncts with Rahu. Rahu is the north node, and Rahu is a troublemaker. And when those two come together, it makes communications and travel pretty difficult. So just know that day also could bring some social unrest and some political turmoil. So that's first thing. Mm-hmm.
First question is,
yes.
Someone asked about the 5 planets all lined up last week. Astrologically, what does that mean? You talked about that last week.
We did. Well, it meant for me, when I looked at all those planets that lined up, it was that things were going to become very clear on clarity, to get clarity in your life about things that you can't, let's see, because one of them was Uranus, one of them was Jupiter. I'm trying to think what they were. Sure. I think that they all wanted to be seen in that sense of getting things clear. I'm going to say it like that, getting things clear.
And because of this astrology this week, does it have anything to do with the Trump indictment? With that?
Oh, absolutely. That would have already begun. That would have begun last week, actually, that type of energy. Yeah. And the Trump indictment, again, when I say on Thursday, this could bring political turmoil, social unrest. That could also, kind of heads up to this, James.
What do you think regarding all the tornadoes, as you know, and the weather craziness, and the sun just came out in California,
right?
What do you think of that as far as astrologically?
Oh gosh, well, I do know that Mars is still out of bounds. That could cause some craziness. We're headed again into this solar eclipse, into eclipse season, and that could bring a lot of changes. Also, James, we've got a Gadanta situation coming up in a couple of days. That's where, of course, right? Jupiter is, for the first time in a year, Jupiter is changing signs from Pisces and moving into Aries. And that actually brings more floods, more water problems, and severe weather. So I think it might be this Gadanta period that we're headed into.
Wow.
So, and then we have depending on where you live, this solar eclipse may either be on the 19th of April or the 20th, depending on where you live. And this is a very unique eclipse. It's a hybrid eclipse, they call it, because it combines a total solar eclipse that shows a partial and an annular in one event. So it's very rare. It's just a rare event. And this eclipse, again, is in Aries, and an Aries Rahu eclipse. So it's going to solar eclipses push us forward, whether we're kicking or screaming. That's their purpose of an eclipse. And this eclipse means total new beginnings. And it's formidable because it also is exalted with the sun. So it's going to put this energy out that's going to be pretty intense for extreme, actually, for 6 months. So I think it's going to bring a lot of change in world leadership. It could really emphasize that because of that sun, that solar, that sun exalted.
Wow.
Could bring that. So that's, and then another situation that we have is on April 21st, Mercury goes retrograde. And again, I'm talking in Vedic astrology in Aries. And that is, this Mercury retrograde is, even that is unique. So normally, when you have a Mercury retrograde, it's, you watch your communications and you redo things. It's not a time to plan to do something new. It is a time to plan for your future. So it's a time to review and reassess. We call it, any of the REs, reevaluate. Yeah. So but this Mercury retrograde makes it, it's just an unbelievable one. And the reason it is because it's in Aries. Mars is going to be in Gemini, and Mercury is going to be in Aries. And that means that Mars in Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury in Aries is ruled by Mars. So they call that sitting in an exchange of houses. Wow. And that makes this very intense time. This is not a normal Mercury retrograde.
It sounds like wartime to me.
Well, so absolutely, because here's the other thing, and this is when Jupiter transits once a year, and when it goes on April 22nd into Aries, when it goes into Aries, and again, Vedic astrology, when it does, at its highest vibration, when Jupiter makes changes signs, at its highest vibration right now, it means that it would be like an abundance, optimism, enthusiasm, a good drive, confidence. But in its lowest vibration, because it's it's in Aries, which is ruled by Mars, Jupiter expands that energy of Mars. And so throughout history, whenever Jupiter has been in Aries, we're talking about World War I, James, World War II, Korea, even the beginning of Vietnam. Yeah. So this is a very powerful time. This month is going to shift a lot. I think politically we're going to see unrest. What?
Make it or break it.
Make it or break it. I think a lot of souls, as we've been talking about all along, I think that they may not have signed up for this period. Like your sister may not have signed up, probably didn't sign up for this period of time. Because I think it's an exaltation of times.
And Darlene Turner, very interesting. And happy birthday to Dawn. Darlene Turner asked, there are also 2 sunspots with huge solar winds coming toward Earth.
I heard that. And that would make, what I would think, it would, make great agitation.
And cause natural disruption.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wow.
Absolutely. So this is really quite a month. I know. And I know you're going to be doing a lot, you've got some major events coming up.
Florida next week. So if anyone wants to go to my show, I don't know if Renee, you have the Florida date. It's in Fort Lauderdale on the 15th of April.
Right.
Right there you go. And that's going to be at the Parker Theater, Florida. Only 2 events I'm doing live this year so far.
And you also have one on the 19th, April 19th.
Yes, on the 19th, I'll be in Tampa, Florida, St. Petersburg. And it's the Unity Church in Tampa, St. Pete. And that's going to be a big deal. It's a big conference. So that's also there on the website. So
wow.
Yeah, a lot going
on. A lot going on, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And Margaret is going on the cruise.
Oh, good,
and Margaret. That's going to be great. She says, I can't wait. Martini's dancing. And, oh, yeah, the workshop.
I know, right?
It's going to be really fun. We always have a good time.
So far, really am.
Oh, good.
Oh, there we go. Fort Lauderdale. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. It's going to be so fun. So,
well, it's been an interesting time. So, I wish to dedicate this to my sister who she had cancer and came back with chemo. With I personally, depending on the condition of the situation, don't know if I'd do chemo because I know your mom did. But I depending on what the situation is.
I think it all depends.
Yeah. because she thought she was fine, but we find out that they said, well, like she's 17 years old. And they said, regular 17-year-old person, you look at her spine, and it's like an old door falling off the hinges. Hinges are rusted, the paint is peeling, and your sister has holes in the door. Okay. So it's I don't know. It depends on condition. But the interesting thing which I wanted to share with everybody is experience, because it was very interesting. I was here, was about, I guess, a week ago, maybe a week and a half, and my sister was in the hospital then, and she was conscious. But I'd be in my shaving or getting ready or eating breakfast, and she would come to me very, very clearly, like she was already passed over, very clearly. And she told how proud she was of me. She loves me. I'm always with you. And then she said, Sister Rosalie's helping me out. I'm like, great. And who's Sister Rosalie? I'm thinking. So I asked my other sister, and she said, oh, yes, that was Sister Rosalie from camp days. Her favorite nun at camp when she was age 11 was Sister Rosalie.
Wow. So she was already talking to you.
Already talking to me.
Yeah.
And the only time this happened is when my father passed away. Before he passed away, he was in a coma, and he was right above his head. I could see him. And he said he doesn't want to go until we decide we're not going to argue about his estate or his house. And we told him we would not argue. Then he was gone. So many times they need to hear from the living. It's okay to go.
Well, I know that when my mom was passing, she literally grabbed me and said, "Am I dying?"
Oh, I had that 4 times.
And you had that. I mean, right? And then, and I looked at my family that we were all there, and I said, "You tell them the truth." I said, "Yes, Mom, you are. Yes, you are dying. Yes." I had to say that because I was afraid if I didn't, the other ones would say, "No, you're going to be fine." Yeah. I said, I can't do that. I knew I had to let her go.
It was one of the hardest.
But it was very traumatic.
Yeah, it was one of the hardest things I ever had to go through. Honestly, it really was, because she would ask me 3 or 4 times. She pointed to the truth. That's the truth. She goes, "Am I dying? Am I dying?" And I didn't know what to say, because you don't want to say, "Yes, you're dying." I said, "Lynn, we're going to take a magic carpet ride, and I'm going to be there with you." And I said, "And we're going to have a good time." And it's a good time. I said, "This is going to be the worst." I didn't say yes. I said no, but I said, "This is the worst of it right here." Whichever the pain you're, because that was before she could be on any really good pain medication. And I tell everybody, there's no reason to be in pain. Souls don't need to suffer. That's not part of the program. They don't need to suffer. Souls aren't meant to suffer. So in that case, I believe so much in letting them euthanize them. Just like we do animals, let's switch to humans. There's no reason to keep them going like that. That was the worst thing ever. Traumatic for everybody. And it wasn't her. She's trying. It was just traumatic. So I said, there's no death. And at one point I said, after the 4th time she asked, my dying said, "There's no death. There's a party going on." And then she go in and she go, "Well, the party's happening, and they're cleaning the windows, getting all ready for me." So that was going on. So it was an up and down, in and out, which a lot of people have that situation when you're losing someone. They go in and out of consciousness. And the other 2 days ago, before she was at the hospice, it was Saturday. So it was maybe Friday at night. I came back on Thursday. And my other sister told me that she reached up to the heavens, physically moved, and she couldn't move. Reached up to her ex-husband, goes, "Dennis," and she was reaching him. So she's ready to go. We know that. Yeah. So she had a sense of humor. She said stitches in her head because she had a head operation at one point, and she starts itching him. And myself, my sister, this is you can't do that. Lynn said, "You really think it fucking matters?"
I can hear her say that.
Really? Who gives a shit? She said. So I was there, I think, to keep her going. I would say silly things like, I'd say grimacing in that very frowny face, and turn that frown into a clown, because to keep the energy up and light. A couple of things was going on. So she came to me when I was in my house before she passed. We found out Sister Rosalie was indeed her nun she loved. Wow. She kept on showing me a dream I had, all sitting in front of my house in Queens when I was a kid, and all the neighbors were there that she knew, and all these people she's helped came down the streets and thanked her. And her ex-husband, who completed suicide 23 years ago, was standing there, and his old, God, I haven't seen it in years, flannel shirt, box of Marlboros, a brown jacket with white fur lined, and typical. And he's standing there, and he's spit down the side of his mouth, which he used to do. And so he goes, "Your sister." I said, "What's going on? What is she?" She goes, she won't come out yet because she's getting her hair ready, which was a typical thing of my sister in those days. So I told her about that when I saw her, and she lightened up. So when someone is in that situation, everybody, I think it's our job to help them as end-of-life doulas, which And it's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of the first ones to come up with that phrase, end of life doulas. And at my Omega class, when people would stand up, they say, help people over. What we call that? I said, well, it's called end of life doulas. And that caught on. I don't know.
It sure did catch on.
It really has. And
Yeah.
because, so anyway, what we could do is just keep up that energy, I guess. So she was coming to me then. And then on the plane ride, I played a song called the Tommy the Who song, and it was from Tommy the Who, and it was "Welcome to the Camp." Welcome to the camp. I know, well, know why you're here. Just singing it. Well, the next day at the hospital, my sister opens her eyes. Goes, "Welcome to the camp. I know, we all know why you're here." So there's so the soul itself is
well, and also though you two have a real deep connection. I mean, not only is she your sister, but I mean, you're both very intuitive.
Yeah, very much so. And she's we've done it many times before. We passed over. We were generals in a war, the whole thing, and it was just interesting for me to learn that soul, just like what we're going to do, the Alaskan cruise, leaving the body. We can go other places, spaces where we're still in this physical body. So this is just a little part of us. So she was able to go to these different places, and I kept on saying to her, "Lynn, this is just the bottom part. You're already over. You're happy. You're happy. Well, go to the party. Just close your eyes when you wake up. It's going to be bright and beautiful and peaceful." And we got to do that for them as part of our job. So when I went there, I worked for 2 days with my family, brought the whole family together, which is lovely. And then 10 o'clock on Thursday night, almost exactly 10 o'clock, I was with my other family members there, and spirits came in the room. And there were all different types of spirits. I can't tell you who it was, but there were those like shadows, but light shadows, white. And the room was filled with people, filled with beings. And I used to see this when I worked at a hospital up in Los Angeles when I lived there doing temporary work. I worked before the mediumship. I worked in a hospital, and I used to go deliver things to the AIDS floor, which had just opened because no one was willing to go up there. And I went up there, and I used to see groups of beings going from one room to another room, and then to another room. And I think they were preparing that person to pass. With my sister, they said to me as a group thought, "It's your time to go now, James. You need to leave now," just like that. So I turned to my sister, "I got to go now. My time was done." And it was as if they came in to prepare her mindset, cleansing her. It's interesting, the process of that, because as Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about the many stages of death, it's very, very true. Yeah. And us humans have to go through that as well as a part of those 7 stages.
Yeah, well, they are, and currently, you're also, you and your family are dealing with it, and a lot of people have dealt with this anticipatory grief.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Well, anticipatory grief is the grief that occurs before a loss. So we know that she's going to pass, but you don't know when, and it's that feeling. And with me, in my mom's case, it lasted for weeks because I didn't know when she was going to pass. And how do I say this? It's one way that people react to the knowledge, maybe, that a life-changing loss is going to happen in the near future. And so what it does on some level is it can help us, actually, if there's unfinished business. If you're able to go there, it can help us with that.
And in our situation, it definitely has.
Yeah. I mean, that, like you were saying today on your show earlier, you were talking about having forgiveness is something.
Forgiveness.
If there's been an issue in families, and by the way, what families have not had that?
Every single
right? I mean, we were talking about dysfunction earlier. I mean, come on, all families have their things that they go through.
I was reading this, which I've been doing a lot of this. Active dying. And what is active dying? Active dying is the final phase of the dying process. While the pre-active stage lasts for about 3 weeks, the active stage of dying lasts roughly 3 days. But it's interesting. In the Bible, 3 days, he has risen this.
And Easter is coming.
Easter's coming, Passover.
And Passover's coming. I mean, her timing is divine.
Actively dying patients are very close to death and exhibit many signs and symptoms near death. For instance, actively dying patients are often seen unresponsive, and the blood pressure often drops significantly. As we were there, her respiration kept on dropping. And the symptoms of active dying include long pauses in breathing, blood pressure drops significantly, patient's skin changes of color, which happened to my sister. One day she was yellow, one day she was white, when she was red. She had no platelets left, so she got bruises everywhere as well. Yeah, no platelets left. And hallucinations, delirium, agitation. And that's really, they don't need agitation. I've been around many dying people, but I got to tell you, it is as Spirit says, it's a very natural process. The act of dying itself is easy. We do it every night. It's getting there, like the cancer, the disease leading up to it is the worst part. Like I told my sister, this is the worst part. Again, there are medications, there are pain medications. I live in a state that you're allowed to emancipate yourself when time comes up. And I think that's the right thing to do. More end of life resources. We're preparing for death of a parent. Yep. Blood pressure, breathing patterns. Yep. And she hasn't eaten in 8 weeks or drank. So that happened.
Oh my gosh.
It is an amazing healing time. And I always look even to the worst situations, even the tornadoes that have happened and people been misplaced. And I always try to look at the opportunities that are shown there, what we can do to change things for the better. Because even though it seems it's terrifying and things are bad, there's always going to be an opportunity. I always believe that.
Oh, I always believe to the last moment that soul can learn something, or we can learn something from that soul. I think it's really important this period of time. Have you ever heard that expression, James? I used this when I did my mom's memorial. Do not go gentle into that good night. Have you heard that one? Do not go gentle into that good night.
I have heard that.
Okay, because I thought that was an interesting one, because it's the rest of it is rage against the dying of the light. Wow. And I will tell you this, my mother did not go gentle into that good night. She just did not. And so because of that, the trauma was a little greater even.
Sure. I can see it for my sisters only, the whole thing, the stages, because there was definitely denial. I'm not going. I'm not ready to say it. There was really anger. She was pissed off.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, yeah. And then there was acceptance. She finally accepted it.
Yeah.
It's just it's an interesting thing. And it's also the families and families to go through that.
And I think that all of us will be going through these experiences.
And she said something which I've heard many years, of course, which is, it's like a dream. And it is, because once she wakes up on the side, she's going to look back and it's going to seem like a dream. And in her case, very interestingly, I was told a lot about her. In her case, they said her mission is to go over and help people pass over.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. She's going to help people.
So that is interesting, because she'll probably bring a lot of families together then in that. Wow.
Wow. I'm going to say to you, well, this is something really interesting. This came up in a reading years ago, but a year ago, maybe a year and a half. And Kelly, the story. It's a great one. It was in Houston. And I brought this girl, I think it was a mother. Mother was very ill for a long time, in a wheelchair, suffered from diabetes. I'm not sure, they amputated part of her body off. I don't know what the details were, but she was in a coma for quite a bit, like 2 or 3 weeks. And the mother came through with really interesting information. She said she heard, even though she was in a coma state, she heard every word that her daughter would say. And she said, especially the prayers that you had for me. Remember this? I received them when I passed over here. Every single word. It was waiting for me when I passed on, and met me when I came here. So all the words of that beautiful prayer and stories are waiting. So when we see someone at the end of the life time, and we say prayers or think of them, all that love is waiting for them. That goes into that energy of the reception when they pass over.
Right, James. Oh, I agree. So let's talk about how to handle, either their emotional needs or your emotional needs, because it's a lot, James, when somebody goes through something like this. For the families, it's a lot. I mean, how did you hold space for one another while you were?
Well, that's a great way of saying it, holding space, and you never know from family dynamics and history. There was a disagreement we had for many years, and speak to my sister for many years, and it's an amazing thing. And I don't know, all families go through this or not, but we all came together in our own respective way. And appreciate each other and respect each other, and realize that everybody is going through this in their own way, and they have to go through their own way. It's very easy for someone to lash out, say a child, or the mother, to lash out at a sibling and say something out of being upset. So at one point, I was with my niece and my nephew, and they were talking, starting arguing. I said, "Okay, stop. Let's breathe. Let's just breathe, because it's going to be very emotional now, and your emotions are trying to cloud up your patterns of thinking correctly. So you've got to calm the emotions just for a moment here, and let's recognize each other. We're doing the best we can with what we know." And so
that was beautifully said.
Yeah, and the one son is still traumatized over his father's suicide 23 years ago.
God.
It's very difficult.
I
So
would think that this would be bringing up a lot for
it
anybody
is.
that's been in that situation.
I think if we share it with family members what
Yeah.
we're going through at that time, I think that's
Mhm.
really, really healthy to share
Right.
what I'm feeling about this and that. And even though I'm 3,000 miles away, I'm texting everyone or talking to them. I think
So
that's
you're all connected then.
well connected. I think it's
Yeah.
the best thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
And also my sister, I wanted to mention to everybody, unfortunately, and my mother. Now this is interesting because I was sitting in the lobby of the hospital with my other sister Maura, and we're talking about our other sister, and I had not felt my mother or father around. I'm like, well, I felt all these nuns and everything. And then my mother came to me at the lobby, which my mother rarely comes to me that I'm aware of.
Right.
But when someone I'm reading there that I'm not in it, I can get it. My mother's personality came through social work. She said, she's the same in death as she was in life. She's difficult. She won't move. I'm like, oh my God. And
That's pretty funny.
it was really pretty funny. And then she said to my sister, I was with you when you lit the candle for the baby. You know, so you understand what that means? She goes, yes, this past weekend I was in Boston and there was a christening of my grandchild and a lit a candle for her right afterwards. So that was very significant.
Oh, yeah. So she's there waiting.
Oh, yeah, they're all waiting. And
They're all
then
waiting.
and the unfortunate parts of things you uncover when this happens is how a person has actually lived or not lived. And unfortunately, my sister tried, for whatever reason, she was never good with money, never very good with money. So unfortunately, we found out she has no insurance. She has no money for death benefits. She has no death benefits. She has a mortgage on her house, the car. So the kids are kind of stuck. So her daughter created a GoFundMe page. Which
Okay.
everybody.
Oh, good. Renee, can you put that up too? And we can post it.
Donate anything to help them to get it together. My part with everything, it would be great because it's on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's
it's on your side, it's on my side, and it's also should be up here.
I appreciate it. Their goal is, my niece's goal is $25,000. I think they're up to 19.
Okay, yeah. I think that's great. People are thank you, Jen. A lot of people have said they donated. That's nice.
Thank you very much for all your help, everybody.
Thank
really,
you.
really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, because this is a hard thing. It's a hard thing for families, and then when there's the financial burden too, it's really really rough.
And you have it in the. Can you put a picture back up, Renee? Would that be good? And in the chat box there's a connection. Okay. Tammy's really concerned about this, which I have to answer this because it's the third time she posted this. When a person passes as one sex but was born another, when they pass, do they return to the gender they were before? Doesn't matter. Don't think it matters.
Right.
Don't think that matters.
Right.
More based on that here than over there. You're just a soul, sexless, if you will. You can identify, become more aware of the experience of being a male energy or female energy, but it's what you relate to. Would you say, Kelly, what you relate to?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I work with many guides, and often I don't know. I can't tell if the male or female, just an energy. This is a really good one. This is from Angela Sophia, and she said, years ago when I worked on the AIDS ward in LA, so we were just talking about that, James, today. Thank you, Angela, for this. She says, all the patients were dying. I went to see James in a couple of presentations, and it saved my life, and I was able to understand what was happening.
Wow.
All the work that you've done. I love that, Angela. We were just talking about that with you.
Thank you. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Here's Magini Marie, combination morphine and cocaine, Bromptons. Never heard of that.
So
I'll write it down.
Right. I've never heard of that either. So Cindy Sue says, sending love and prayers out to you and your family, James. I do have a question. You said that assisted dying is okay, but what if that is part of the soul's lesson, to go through the whole dying process and is taken away from them with assisted death? That's a good question.
I think, and no matter what it is, no matter what the situation is in life, everything comes down to the intention behind the act. So if you did that with compassion, just to show compassion, demonstrate compassion and love, that might have been the lesson that dying person had to finally teach those people around them how to love, how to forgive. So there's that. I think if you come from the intention of a loving space, that's fine. I don't think it'd be put in that position if it wasn't. I mean, just the intelligence of that world and how they place things, I think that meant to be. There's no loss and no waste of emotion, of compassion and love and caring. It's a thing we should do. Yeah,
that's so true. That is so true.
Cocktail, thank you. Brompton's cocktail.
I never heard of that.
Never heard of that. Brompton's cocktail.
No. James, Kate Yachenko says that your talking to heaven cards really helped her connect with her loved ones who've passed. Thank you for your wisdom.
Oh,
Those cards are great.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll be doing more videos of card readings every week. This has been a little crazy this week. I haven't done much.
Well, we tell everybody what happened at the airport. I mean, when you left there, you were.
Oh yeah, so I was
this was unbelievable.
It was very surreal. Still kind of surreal. Not as surreal as it was last week, but it was very surreal. And 2 days of being there and didn't sleep well, and then I had to get up at 5 o'clock.
And you did a meditation too, which was incredible, by the way.
Thank you. A little meditation. That's right. And it was just I was very tired, and it was plane was at 7, so I got to the airport at 5. I got my ticket at JFK Airport, which, by the way, when I landed at JFK, I was blown away because there were so many people, and I'm not used to seeing people.
No.
And it's throngs of people. Like, whoa. So that's for me. I had to stand to the wall and go, wow. You got to adapt to this quickly. And I just like, whoa. So anyway, coming back, it was early in the morning, and I got my ticket on the outside there with the machine. Got all the way into TSA. The agent, right before I handed my ticket to the TSA agent, I realized it in my bag. I left my bag all the way to the front of the JFK terminal. I had to go out of the TSA line all the way back. Got my bag. It was still there. Came back in TSA. Then I was hungry because it was 7. It was early in the morning. So I went to a place, got some to eat. And then I went to my gate and I was just about to give my boarding pass in. And I realized I had no suitcase. I left it at the restaurant. So I had to get onto one of those carts so they drive you around. And I said, help me go back to the other side of the airport.
So glad that person was there.
Yeah. And, my luggage was there and it was fine. And I ended up sitting next to a lovely lady named Mary Beth, who's a dog person. She goes to the same dog park I do. So that was kind of
wow. So that's a blessing right there. But you can see when you're going through something like this, you would be it's really hard to concentrate. It's a really rough time.
And the meditation helped me, believe it or not. Doing that meditation helped ground me, believe it or not.
Wow.
Being grounded me to do that meditation. So
wow, that's amazing. Barbara Bro Stein, I can't believe your conversation about AIDS in Los Angeles. Years ago, when people started dying of AIDS, several of my friends asked me to go see their person that was dying and to talk to them about dying. I have the most wonderful stories, and I think the work was amazing. How great is that? It
was an amazing time. I mean, I was so many friends, a couple of partners, and it's amazing. And I remain negative, which is very interesting. But I used to, like I said, drive the mothers of these AIDS patients to a meeting where the mothers would all grieve together. That was really hard. And I was one of the ones that helped form APLA, AIDS Project Los Angeles, in the 80s.
What extraordinary work.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Matt Redman and Nancy Colstaway, we all knew each other. And I was one part of that group. And I was going to be in the spiritual counseling part. And there was a debate whether they wanted a medium in the spiritual counseling part. And it was the lesbian Jewish rabbi. We have to have him in there. Are you kidding? You can't have to be diverse. So she's there. And it was great, people, because it wasn't religious. It was just spiritual. And anyway, that was really hard doing that. It was really hard to be with those people, but it was amazing because.
Don't you think it prepared you for the work that you do?
Totally. Oh, totally.
And even the work that you do now, even with your sister.
Yeah, I mean, when that spirit band of spirits came and said it's time for you to go, I was like, okay, say okay.
They kicked your ass out.
It's time for you to go, but okay. And it was almost like they were preparing that body. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So she was getting ready when she came to me those times before she passed. I realized that they were showing her how to leave the body. And I wasn't sure she could even communicate that. I wasn't sure that the physical person would be able to acknowledge that because she didn't remember that. And then she started going in and out of it. So, but, and the worst part was saying, am I dying? And it was like,
here's a good question. Oh, it's a hard one, James. Ruby Withrow, she says, how does a cancer patient handle ghosting from people who used to be super close? That's so true. I have seen that happen. Do you know that, James, that term, ghosting, that they, not as in a ghost, but they leave them, they just disappear?
Yeah, what is that about?
Well, I think that these people that have ever been super close were, phonies. That's what I would think. You really get to know somebody in a crisis.
Someone said they sat next to me on a plane. Let me see. I'm just reading this. Thomas J. I sat next to them on a plane and told them they were going to be a medium, and now they are.
Oh my gosh. That's great. That is great. You never know who you're going to sit next to on
We
a
never
plane.
Thomas J. Okay, very good.
So Debbie Griffin asked, once the souls leave this side, how do they communicate with us?
Well, in many ways, thought is number one. Mentally, number one. That's the number one way. Mental thoughts with love behind it, an emotion of love, is the number one way to communicate. It's through love. I don't know how else to describe it. Would you describe it?
I would say definitely through love. And then all of a sudden you start to see signs too, is another way. And I'll tell you, James, I had an interesting sign today from my own mother. I had been talking about my mother and thinking about her. And as we were doing the show tonight, I really was thinking about my experience with her when she passed and in life, and was really thinking about it. And I was particularly here just writing about it. And then all of a sudden, this odd bug, I mean, you don't have bugs. Anyway, this bug just flew in. I said, that's weird. I said, right when I said, oh, it's got to be my mom. And sure enough, I went into my bedroom and I grabbed my mom's white watch that I have not worn in years. And the battery never worked. And the battery started moving. And I said, okay, you got my attention now.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, that was how she communicated with me today.
Ghosting. And Ryan says, RN of 42 years, those ghosting pals are usually afraid or don't know what.
Yeah, they don't know what to say. Yeah, that's true. Some people, yeah, Patricia Neely. Some people cannot handle people that they care for, that they love. I know it's true, but I think that's just not good to do.
Me, please. Ghosting. What does that mean?
It's when they disappear.
What does that mean?
So let's say they're not there for you. They've been your best friend, and then you're dying, and they're like, F you, I'm out. Well, like what?
They can't deal with it.
Probably. They can't deal with it, but I don't like that.
Their own mortality is what it's doing.
Yeah. You're right.
My sister has set up a little code. So when she comes,
good.
Yeah, there's a code. I'm not gonna imagine what it is, but
there's
code words, and I keep on pressing her, and then I'll go back to that thing I mentioned earlier about when they get to this side, they'll remember all the things we talked about. Yeah. So she'll know the code words and all that.
Okay, I like that, James. Okay.
But Ricky Tenhoff, have you heard of use voluntarily stopping eating and drinking when diagnosed with Alzheimer's or with dying? No, I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. I don't know what that is. Don't know.
Thank you, everybody, for your help and then for your donations and
right
on the page.
So, yeah.
Show you her picture.
Yeah, show her those eyes. Those eyes are something else. Look at those eyes, James. Whose eyes did she have, or does she have?
My mother and my father, but my mother's blue eyes like I have.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting. And my teacher, Brian Hurst, who taught me, just text me, said, James, I'm so sorry to hear that Lynn's passing on. Please accept our sympathy in your loss. I text because you may be working or traveling. You're welcome to come over here and talk about things anytime. Take care, my friends. Stay well, Brian. Oh, my teacher.
So sweet. So sweet.
Interesting.
You have a lot of support, James.
I know. Yes.
I know. I mean, this is, and I think that when you're with somebody who's in this situation, be as present as you can with them.
It's true. It's true. And I wasn't necessarily planning on back to New York, but that's band of spirits said, go get
kicked out.
Go. I'm like, okay. Do you know where my suitcase was? I haven't been on a plane in 5 years, but okay, I'm going.
Oh my gosh, that's very funny.
Yeah.
That's a funny one. Yeah, everybody's saying what a sweet smile. It's a lot, James.
Kathleen Long Island is singing lots of. She became Long Island's #1 psychic. That she's holding up that.
Wow.
Website, yeah. So that's pretty.
Wow. Good. Okay, that's interesting too.
The whole chemo thing is an interesting thing.
Yeah, it all depends. It is. It's a hard one, and it kills the good and it kills the bad.
Because I know a lot of guys with prostate cancer, some get that or get radiation and it works. So it all depends on what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Michaela Wally says, why does a soul cross over if they aren't ready to? Is it related to past life or free will?
Kelly, you answer that one.
Well, I think that when a soul, I think when they do pass over, it is their time. What do you think on that, James?
I don't think that the ready thing comes in. I think it's all timing. It might look like, are they ready? It's just, I think it's more, yes, it is for both, and there's a process. it's a process for the living and for the dead. In that, I think many times, the free will, I think, can sometimes get involved in that. They have to have they sometimes want permission that it's okay to leave, but others are just so into that spirit mind that they can move on. There's a great movie called The Heist, Pearly, called The Cemetery Club with Olympia Dukakis, which everybody should see. Want to come here, Betty? Pearl's just coming. Come here, Betty.
Hey, Pearly.
I was out playing ball with her earlier.
Oh, good. You're a good dad.
I'm at dog park yesterday. It was great, Dad. Hello, my love. Hello, my love. Oh, yes, I know. Yes.
You had talked to earlier, James, in your show earlier today about you've got to be willing to forgive somebody in a case if there's a problem with that. Because you mentioned something that I thought was interesting. You said it stains our soul. Can you talk a little bit about that?
What I meant by that staining our soul is that energy, that not being able to forgive. It kind of solidifies, if you will, in our energetic body. And that's a raw motion that we don't need to hold on to it.
Yeah.
That's what souls don't need to suffer.
Yeah.
So lay down. I'm sorry, I'm just concerned about her. So anything like that. I know my sister and everyone. If they have that last moment to say I'm sorry or forgive me or whatever needs to be said, they don't want to carry on with them. It's a good time for loved ones to go to their side. My sister apologized to me for a lot of things, and we shared our love with each other, and it's a good time for that. So there we go.
It's an important time.
It's an important time.
Yeah.
Joan, a person had bad health problems throughout their life and had a lot of trauma. Does it take time? Does it take time for that soul to heal over the other side? It's a great question, Joan Walker.
Mm-hmm.
I think the condition you find yourself, like my sister will find herself in a clinic, a hospital.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Yeah.
It's not like our hospital. It's very open roof and beautiful light. And it's a respite, if you will. It's a respite. It's almost like they have to rest to get back the prana, the energy of life, because the process of dying pulls that life force out. So they have to kind of get it back. And the rest could be earth time, maybe 2 days, could be 3 days. And they usually will be visited by loved ones from the other side. And they will see a loved one, and they'll be dressed beautiful clothes that wonder why, and so the spirits say, "Oh, I dressed you with my thoughts." That's how it works here. So there's no pain. It's the opposite. I remember my friend Olivia, it's 85, took fentanyl to go over. And I said, "My God, what was that like?" She said, "Oh, please, it was nothing. If I knew how great it was, I could hear her. I done it earlier."
That's very funny. Oh my gosh.
Okay, if traveling and forgive. However, if someone is vindictive toward you, you have to stay away from them for your own mental health. No doubt about it. So boundaries.
Oh, for sure.
You're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for yourself, for your own well-being. But then that teaches you boundaries. So you do have to have boundaries, very much so. And people sometimes freak out when you have boundaries. But guess what? You're teaching them by having those boundaries.
Oh, you betcha. That is so true. Let's see here. Gosh.
Oh, Gail King.
How long should I wait before I contact a recently deceased person through a reading? I always say, at least 2 or 3 months. I always feel that way. James, what do you think?
I'm at 3 months. It depends on the type of death they had. But I would just give them a time to acclimate to the new way of life. Yeah. And I was about 3 months. Not that they couldn't come earlier, because they could, depending upon the circumstance. Every death is individualistic, and every experience is different. And I remember I was doing a demonstration once, and I brought a girl's mother through, and she said, "Well, that's wrong. My mother's still alive." And the mother died actually when the girl was driving to my demonstration. The mother passed. So,
wow.
So they can come right through, depending upon the death. The heart attack was very easy. There was no pain involved with it. Sometimes there's much pain involved with death, like my sister's going through, that they don't want. They think that it's a memory. It's a memory of the earth, but they think they don't want to come too close because they get that pain again. And it's just a memory. It's not real, but to them it feels real. Yeah. So I guess the physical world, we go back to an old place from our childhood or teenage years or young adulthood that was traumatizing to us. Same type. We have that memory of that.
I was going to ask you, did you tell your sister that her former husband was waiting for her? Or I was going to say, yeah. I remember I asked my mother who she wanted to meet her. And I was very surprised by her answer. And she said she wanted my father. They had been divorced for nearly 45 years. And she wanted him. And I said, why would you want him? And she said, because he was the most fearless man I knew. And my mother feared death.
Belinda just said, because of family, familiar to her.
Yes. Oh, I got chills. I love her.
I know.
Did she show up when you were with Lynn?
She could have been. Maybe she's around me just for this. I don't know. But it just said it's familiar, she said.
Right. Vivian Lessard, she says, do we choose how we are going to die before we come here?
I'd say yes, we do. Destiny.
Yes. Yeah.
That's when we're going to end school. Yes. That's not to say that there's possibilities that people have free will, that someone can end your life by their bad choice. That does happen. Drunk drivers, shootings. Those could be, someone's free will acted upon it. And then that immediately sets in an action of karma, if you will. So then that person's got to be dealt with in their own way. It's very interesting. And I'll never forget this. It's always good to hear. If you're ever like you judge people, a certain race, for instance, a certain people, something, and you keep on negating them in some way, you can bet as sure as you're sitting here that you're going to come back in that race.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Lisa Jamalzian says, James, would you share with us a wonderful time you had with your sister?
Sure. I had a great time with my sister. A couple of good times. I was telling her in the hospital about this, and I think she got most of it because it was just pretty funny. She used to come out and visit me here in California. And when I lived in LA, I remember I had to park my Toyota Corolla, I guess it was, on a hill that was a decline because the car wouldn't start otherwise. And I had to do that in those days. No money, nothing. And I remember that. And she pushed me the car back there in the morning, going in, and I had to go quickly. And it was during that time that we went to Disneyland. And Lynn, my sister's always been afraid of birds. For little girls, always afraid of birds.
Birds?
Birds, the worst. Birds. Freaks her out, birds. So
did she say, what was that movie? What was the movie with the birds? The Birds, I think it was called.
So we said, we're going to Disneyland. I said, okay, what can we do first? She goes, what can we do first? I said, well, the tiki room. The tiki room first.
With the birds.
She said, well, it's parrots. They're animated parrots. Welcome. It's a little show. There aren't any real birds, are there? I said, no, there are no real birds, Lynn. I promise there are no real birds. They're just robotic birds. That's it. And she said, are you sure? I feel like real birds. I said, no, Lynn, I promise, no real birds. We got up at 5:30 in the morning, her friend Joni, myself, and Lynn. And we go into Disney, we get there, whatever it was, 7. And we go into that place, and she's nervous breakfast to watch around. And the show starts, and the the parrot comes down, and all of a sudden a real bird flies out because it was nesting in there. My sister flew out and just ran out of that.
That's a great story. Thanks for asking that question, Lisa.
I got another one. She was up recently upstate New York with my cousins. My brother told me this because I wasn't there. He said, and my brother and my sister are bad together. He teases her. They were on a boat on the lake, and a fly went into my sister's ear. Fly. Now she's always asking for signs from her ex-husband to come through. From my brother sister. And she's like, no, it's an ear. It's in my head. It's an ear. And of course, my brother
that's really funny.
Listen, do you want to hear a secret? The Beatles song. And that was their song together. Anyway, the beetle flew out. She went and they got it out of the ear. I think they went to the hospital. She goes, give me that effing fly. And my brother goes, you're not killing that fly. There's more to the story, but it's pretty funny.
Oh my God.
And then recently she said, I just mentioned when she was in bed in the hospital, and I said, I put her oxygen on her nose. She was itching. I said, Lynn, you need the oxygen. She goes, does it really fucking matter? You think? I'm dying. Hello.
So she has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, good sense of humor. So that's why I said to her, turn that frown into a clown. I was right. Fuck you.
Oh my God.
She appreciated that I came all that way. She appreciated all the people that came in that had been there. That's wonderful. That's a fine line too, though. I was talking about with my other sister. There's a fine line in that there are some people that can't read a room. Like there are some people that come when someone's passing or going to process of, and they just want to hang out the whole time. not realizing that the family is going through this, and you have to be respectful to the family, and not be there because they're a friend of the person, but the family's going through a process as well. So I think it's always good to be aware and to be on the safe side and respectful of their last moments together. So I learned that too when I was there, because.
And you guys they only allowed 2 in, right?
Only 2 in. Of course, we snuck in. But then, the funny thing is there were only 20 rooms, but they had 2 nurses understaffed. Only 2 nurses. So, yeah. At one point, I wanted to yell out that Shirley MacLaine terms of endearment movie, where she runs and she goes, "Give my daughter the pain shot! Give my..." I wanted to do that, but
I think Shirley would have been proud of you if you had done that.
It would have been.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Jen Ellis Senecal. My husband passed on March 14th. I'm sorry. And he was interred on St. Patrick's Day, his favorite day. Oh my gosh. The week before he passed, I told him to send me green things. I went to the pet store for cat food and saw 3 green dog toys in the discount bin. One was a green doggy bandana with a frog on it. It said, "Don't worry, be happy. It's been hard for me, taking care of him on hospice since mid-January." He also kept seeing and talking to his mom and brothers.
That's a great one, Jen. Sorry, a great connection. Yeah. And again, to make that happen to you, he had to influence your mind to look at that. Go to the pet store, know about the green banana there. With that, I mean, that's so amazing. And obviously, help with that. Yeah. But that whole intricacy of how they pull those strings for those things to manifest in our minds and to be there, to me, it humbles you.
Wow. Totally, James. Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. Okay, everybody. So James, we've got a few people are talking about birds. Birds freak a family member out too. That's so funny. I don't think I ever knew anybody that had trouble with that. Oh, so let's talk about your mediumship. You're free.
A free mediumship.
Okay.
Webinar. So it's free for everybody. I'm doing a course called Mediumship 1 from my school, JP Mystical Arts. And if you go there and click on the banner, you can register your email and your name and stuff. Excuse me. Not sleeping. And really, you can register for that free webinar. It's going to be about mediumship. It's going to be Mediumship 1 is a course that we're doing. And it's going to be the first free seminar there. And to introduce various aspects of mediumship, simple stuff, some psychic work, some mediumship. So please join me for on Wednesday evening, April the 5th at 4:00 Pacific time. And if you're interested to sign up, just go to my JP school right there and click on the banner, and it'll bring you to the registration page. It's a busy week this week.
It's a busy week. Yeah, you've got a busy week. That is the truth. Okay, well, everybody. And then if you can join me on Thursday with Ask Me Anything, and I'll go over complete April astrology too. So join me on Ask Me Anything this Thursday.
Wow. And, thanks, everybody. Appreciate your help.
Thanks, everybody. All right, James. Thanks, I love you, James. Oh, God bless you.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kelly White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kelly Show.